Welcome to Obsidian Star, a live tabletop role playing game design journey. And of course, this is RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ. And again, we're going to talk about science fiction and the embrace. Sorry, the thumbnail didn't. I made a mistake on the thumbnail. So let's talk about many of the real world issues in science fiction, in science, that we can embrace in science fiction but are often ignored. Oh, wow. I want to talk about time lag. I want to talk about like constant acceleration and the flip and burn. I want to talk about orbital positions with the planets, and they're constantly moving, and they're not necessarily next door to each other. They can be further away. I want to talk about problems with other types of communication, whether it's blackout periods of time. How do we feed and clothe and service ourselves as human beings in space? That becomes a big issue. Things like cutting your hair and being in zero gravity but bleeding, and how difficult that is. So many other little small issues that human beings are not designed for space travel and zero gravity and traveling from planet to planet, but and it's often overlooked or ignored in science fiction for good reason, not crapping on these kind of things, but getting a tabletop role-playing game and kind of embracing those little issues and making it a feature, not necessarily a problematic obstacle that interferes with the fun. Actually turning these things and making it fun. And I wanted to start off with time lag. I didn't change the thing. I hit the wrong thumbnail, but I'll fix it in post. But whatever. Oh man, yeah, big brain stuff. Yeah. This is about how if you spend any serious time in space, you're going to be way off kilter from Earth time. Yep. No matter what, right? Yeah, I mean, like, how do you? I'm sure that as we've seen in television and movies, sometimes you'll see like a newsroom or a government office, and you'll see like multiple clocks up on the walls, and the clocks tell you, like, it's a quick reference. Like, you can look up and go, okay, well, Singapore is this time, and London is this time, and New York City is this time, and Hawaii is, and they, it's a quick reference because even now, as we are online and we're very much a global, interactive, social media thing, it's no matter the fact that I know it, I'm still amazed at the different time zones everyone is in, because even time zones are ignored in science fiction, right? When people land on planets, like, depending on where you land on any planet, it's going to be nighttime or daytime or something. Like, you're going to be off. Your time scale is going to be off from everyone that lives on that planet, because the planet's spinning, and then it, depending on its position with the sun and what time, is it daytime or nighttime for these people and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that we kind of ignore, and time lag happens to be one of them, where in The Expanse, the television show The Expanse, they did add in time lag, where they're like, hey, send off this message to someone, and they knew it would take like 18 minutes for it to get there, and then another, it would be a half hour or more before they get the message back, because the battle could literally be over and they didn't even know it because the signal took so long for them to receive it. I think that's amazing to use, and I'm going to relate this to other storytelling in a minute, but I want to see what you guys have to say. Yeah, Taste Been Us is cutting hair and bleeding in space. Two things I've never given any thought and can't be alone here. Yeah, cutting hair I thought about. The Expanse taught me about bleeding in space. So not only, of course, when you have liquids in zero gravity, do they liquids have like a tension to them. So if you start bleeding, your blood will pump out, but then it'll just sit there. It won't it'll adhere to your uniform and to your skin or float close by because again there's no gravity. There's other than the pumping out of your body. Once it gets into outside your body, it's just going to want to stay there in free float, which means that in a like a battle or a gunfight or something, you're going to have bodies and blood and viscera and stuff like that literally floating in the hallways. Like it won't settle, it won't move, it'll just be sitting there. It's pretty nasty given, you go when they had the crew go onto a spaceship and it's like, oh, all the crew is dead, and it's like you have to push your way through the entrails and things like this. Pretty nasty. But the other side effect of that is the inability to heal. If you get cut and you bleed in zero gravity, you'll just have internal bleeding. It won't exit your body for the pressure to be put on the wound. The blood's just going to pull inside of you. And I was like, oh, that's right. You can't heal very well. Nasty. Dead Man says Eclipse Phase had an adventure based on My Hunters. Yeah, called Ego Hunter, where the players play as forks of a researcher searching for the original ego, and she's infected by one of the exogen viruses. Yeah, that intro adventure for the intro adventure for Eclipse Phase called Ego Hunter is pretty good because all the players play fragments of the main antagonist personality, and all the players are in different bodies and things like that, but they're basically the same. They're basically minor copies, slivered copies of the main character, which is kind of a cool idea. Yeah. Oh man, joints and ligaments falling apart from atrophy. That's what I've always been afraid of. Yep. There's been the heart is a muscle, and the heart starts to atrophy in space. That a lot of the astronauts have a hard time recovering because the heart is working against gravity here on Earth. Once you remove that, the heart doesn't have to work as hard. It's weird. It's awesome. Time zones. The Soviet Union had an advantage there. Yeah, time zones are a big issue because hey, let's take the Star Wars, right? I'm going to take the Millennium Falcon and we're just going to fly to the planet, and half the population is asleep. Well, not half, but you know what I mean. Like you think you're just arriving somewhere, but based on where the sun's position is, you might arrive and you're sleepy, but everybody else is just waking up. And then you're trying to contact another, one of your black market contacts who's 7 hours out of your time zone, and your black market contact's like, hurry up, I need to contact you. And you're just like, dude, I'm just waking up. What's going on? Speaking of entrails, so this whole explosive decompression thing is really a myth, right? Yep. Yeah. Apparently, again, using the Expanse as a benchmark, the explosive part of explosive decompression is not a real thing. In the television show The Expanse, there's a period of time where the characters are floating in zero gravity, and there's a hole in the hull of the ship, got punched through by some kind of like kinetic kill weapon or something, and blew through the skull of one of their allies. The blood starts coming out of his body. It's strapped in a chair, starts flowing out the hole in the ship, and they take a notebook, like one of those three-ring binder type style notebooks, and they literally place it over the hole to stop the escape of oxygen. So even now, the International Space Station is leaking oxygen as we speak. For some reason, it's very difficult to make a completely sealed environment that doesn't leak air, that somehow the air is able to escape, and it happens all the time, they say. Yep. Yeah, this heart muscle thing you just mentioned sounds like a good argument why you necessarily have to be post-human augmented to do serious time travel. Yeah, and exactly, right? Like the idea that you have to have your body augmented, maybe even temporarily, through supplements or injections or just regular old genetic modification to the body, just to be able to, I don't know, ice haul for months on end in light gravity and zero gravity, and bringing being a comet farmer and taking it to Mars or whatever. And it's like those people have their minds and bodies modified. And I like the idea of having that be a feature of the game. So for an example would be, um, imagine how many resources you would have to not have to modify your body. Like it might be a flex, right? We hear about in our real world, there are people who like to flex in front of other people. A perfect example is um street guys, drug dealers flexing with all the jewelry they have. We know that you should not be flexing with your fashion and jewelry in dangerous locations, but the flex is being able to do that and wearing expensive jewelry and saying I've got so much money, I can waste it on expensive clothing and jewelry and fashion and still walk around in dangerous neighborhoods because that's my flex. I can't be touched. People fear me, that kind of thing. And in space, socially, there may be people who are flexing like, no, I haven't had body modifications because I've got so much money and influence. I live in a habitat where I don't need to be in zero gravity, and I'm fully protected from radiation, and I can live months on end out here without needing to constantly go to a station where my vitality needs to be equilibrium needs to be adjusted all the time, which is part of the game. You have the vians, like the vitality or vitamins and something else, so you have to go through the nutrient baths to get rid of the cancers and things. You have to exercising is a thing. So instead of like the local tavern, I'm imagining that there would be, in these especially larger space habitats, there were locations where you go, and the point of you going to these locations is to make sure your body is maintained. So you might be on a treadmill, you might be lifting weights, there might be resistance bands and all these kind of things. There might be foods and nutrients that you put your hand on the monitor and it analyzes, hey, you need extra riboflavin and niacin and calcium and things like that. Like I'm imagining, like, yeah, can there ever possibly be anything like a space gym? That's exactly what I'm thinking of. Like, but it might be also psychological. We probably, like animals in a zoo, we may need enrichment. Sometimes they'll put, like, in the bear enclosure, they might have like a puzzle thing that's got food in it, and they have to reach their paws into it and their snout to get the food, and it's like an enrichment program. There may be enrichments that human beings need just to keep our sanity of ourselves while we're out in space. Now that could be virtual reality, it could be games, it could be many of those things, and I'll talk about that in a minute as well. Shitlord says, within your own solar system, it must still be possible. It's decades in interstellar travel where it gets totally impossible. Yeah, and that's a big issue, right? Like we imagine ourselves like we should be intergalactic. We should leave our own solar system, go to Alpha Centauri, and if I don't know how long it would, depends on how fast you move, but even in a short basis, it would still take dozens of years probably. And when you're traveling that far, it's like, what does the body and mind even go through? It's wild. Like, I can't imagine the boredom that would happen. And with isolation comes, our brains need interactivities. So, would it make sense to, are VR games and board games and tabletop role-playing games and different types of fashion, like at some point we're going to need to take into space like our man caves in many ways, right? Because it may be necessary for the survival. Like, could you imagine, the space programs going along, the space programs like, we need the best 12 longest playing board games and another 6 role-playing games to send off into space to keep people entertained or something, right? Yeah, Deadman says, yeah, the space shuttle and ISS have zero-G gyms there, and it's necessary for them to use it, or at least so far the technology involved is like treadmills, resistance bands, and things like that. And you see them exercising. There's plenty of videos and photographs of our many astronauts, exercising in space because they don't want their limbs to atrophy. They don't want their spine, the spine starts to elongate and things like that. Yeah. Shai says for a space gym, you would need artificial gravity, and the only way we know to create that would involve spinning, right? Well, that might even be a possibility as well. Like, would they have these small spinning chambers, and you get in the spin chamber for, I don't know, 14 minutes, like you program it, you boop, 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 get in the spin chamber. That might be a thing. Drew says sunlight for vitamin D, which might become a problem the farther away one is from our sun. Ooh, yeah. I even made a list of, like, with a D12 system, I made a list of 12 plants that are the 12 most oxygen generating plants that we have here on Earth. And plants might be, an individual. I'm just making up something, like the big bad might be like spraying the leaves and the roots of their plants with some water, and stealing a person's plants might be tantamount to like stealing a horse. Like, it might be like, you're like, I love my plants more than my children. Like, I need my damn plants back, right? Yeah, vitamin D supplements, calcium supplements, and those kind of things would I wouldn't just say be necessary. They would be a shortage of that might cause a panic. Just like oxygen scrubbers and things like that. Like, we take it for granted that even with television telling us about terrible air quality, we've had many massive fires that have happened around the world, and it affects the air quality. Can you imagine how quickly affecting the air quality in a habitat would affect the population? I mean, the minute a couple people start coughing, everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? You dead man. Yeah. Damn, that's going to be fun to read about after this show. Yep. A zero-G gym uses straps to hold the person in place while on a stair stepper or treadmill. And I think technologically we might even come up with other things. Like I was saying, like resistance bands, you can like attach to a foot and you just pull on the bands, like the elastic or spring style bands. You pull them away in front of your chest or around your back, and you pull them, and things like that. Like, there might be heck, even those little small wrist gripper type things. There may be something that I don't know, you could wear on your chest that starts to accelerate your adrenaline or something. I don't know. Yeah, vitamin D supplements where bioavailability is never a problem. Yeah. Best sources of vitamin D are the flesh of fatty fish and fish liver oils. That's going to be fun to store in space. Yeah. Unless, like, okay, that brings up an issue. I wonder if fish could be adapted to swim in bubbles in zero gravity. Would fish oils be a delicacy? That might be something as well. Now, I'm sure artificially we could create like vitamin D and many of the other vitamins that would be necessary. But, you know, would the crew of a starship be quarantined because some members of the crew aren't taking their fatty amino acids, or it's been 3 days since they took a calcium supplement, and we really need to quarantine them to make sure that they take it. Like, that might be your health is important to the people around you in a space hab or a starship or something. And some individuals might take it as an affront, like, you're putting me in danger because you're not eating, you haven't eaten your veggies, right? I mean, that could really be an issue. And I'm going to circle back around to things like time lag and gravity and bleeding in space and things like that. I do want to say that these issues that we're talking about, like real world issues of human beings going into space and how much basically bullshit. We got to surround ourselves with a lot of stuff to keep ourselves safe. And threats to those mechanisms itself can be part of an adventure. So an enemy, like I've talked about piracy and how destroying other starships is actually the worst idea you ever want to engage in. Like, your enemy starship is $1 billion, I mean, in real world terms, like $1 billion asset. You don't want to blow that into smithereens in space and cause a Kessler syndrome, sending shrapnel towards yourself, right? You kind of want to like take the crew, drop them off somewhere, take their starship, sell it, dismantle it, keep it for yourself. But these things like finding, boarding a starship and going after their vitamin D supplements and their calcium supplements and their, I don't know, maybe there's something you can take to increase the density of your heart, or there are sealed in their bricks are a number of like fidget widgets that help you keep your sanity. And you could literally threaten somebody by holding that stuff hostage or stealing it. And the crew is like, oh shit, we've got 4 months to travel, and they took that stuff from us. Yeah, space scurvy. Do you have a term for that? No, I don't. I would love for you to come up with that. Deadman says fish have little care for gravity. I was thinking about that. Yeah, just put them in a sealed tank with an oxygenation source, the bubble thing in all aquariums. Yep. I wonder if you could, there's a silly, what would you call it? Like the equivalent of taking your fish for a walk. You extrude a bubble of appropriate fluid for your fish, and then you stick your fish in it and you let the fish swim in the bubble in zero gravity, and that becomes like a way to walk your fish. And then you skirt the bubble back into the fish tank and seal it back up again with, like you said, like the little oxygenating rods or cubes that blow oxygen into it. Yeah, that would be kind of cute. It'd be kind of cool. Scurvy, like space scurvy. It's like, yeah, scurvy. It could be. Yeah. There was a reason why sailing ships, people had scurvy, because they didn't have access to like vitamin C, and they weren't carrying with them all of the not the nutrients, but the vital building blocks that we need, amino acids and things like that, that we need for space. That'd be pretty. That's a good idea. You guys come up with a term for that, for space travel, like that's why I picked the word vians. I found it. I was looking for a word that encompassed food and nutrients and health and things like that. And the reason where I came up with vians was it's a Filipino word, and I thought it could be co-opted as like vitality and vitamins and kind of thing. Like you got to take your vians, like you got to engage in that. And I wanted that to be part of the game, where it's not just food and water, but it's meditation. It is, treadmilling. It is lifting weights. It is getting in the spin chambers. It is taking your hyper calcium supplements. It's taking your muscle fiber injections or whatever. Yeah. Caligula says even fish must start to fall apart in zero gravity. What would keep them together? Maybe a lot of fish would turn into would be less flat and start to bubble out a little bit. I mean, underwater tanks are used to simulate zero gravity in the space programs. So yeah, I don't know. And they are three-dimensionally. Fish know what up and down is, but they are in a three-dimensional space like birds. So I wonder if like birds and fish would far more easily adapt to space, or be modified very easily to be adapted to space. That could be a thing as well. I mean, you take yourself up a couple dozen breeds of fish you think are tough, and then the ones that live, that breed, every fish that breeds ends up breeding fish that are more adapted to where they live. It's like part of that is kind of considered like human beings. Like every human being alive today is a survivor because every human being that didn't breed was a genetic material we didn't need any longer. It's kind of like a Darwinian evolution, right? Can a post-human be engineered to generate their own vitamins? I wonder if not only maybe their own vitamins, I think plants and maybe even some small animals might be adapted to make their own vitamins. Or this is kind of nasty to say, there might be humans that are engineered to make vitamins for other people. Let's not get too dirty describing how you would extract the vitamins from one human being for the others, but there could be this sounded pretty good. Could there be a classification of human beings who are on spaceships and habitats, whose sole purpose is to generate nutrients for every other person, like a caretaker? I'm trying to. I don't know. And listen, we can get real dirty with this, but I don't mean it to be this way. But yeah, or maybe there's a guild. I could see major habitats having a guild of individuals, and those individuals, their only purpose, it's like half medical, half psychological, half social kind of thing, where the guild is designed to ensure that every other person that lives there is in a homeostatic center. Like they may go around to ensure that, checking people for their heart rate, their brain function, their bone density, and they monitor everyone else. Like maybe it's not self-monitoring in a small hab with maybe a few hundred people, maybe ones with tens of thousands, millions, hundreds of thousands, millions, heck, even heading up to the billion range. I could see it like a job function guild could be people dressed a certain way. They clock in, or their job is to go around to every person in the habitat at some point, or they have like, what would be another thing? There are like doctor's offices of sorts, and you get pinged or something. Yeah, VTOPs. Yeah. VTOPs. Yeah, they're like I don't know, vitamin I don't know, vitality operations, possibly, maybe something like that, where these people walk around. And what a great function to have in a society. Like, here's a person whose job, they knock on your door and they say, hey, and you're like, oh, has it been a month? Yeah, it sure has been a month. All right. And they start checking your vitals, but then they also say, they're like, so let's put this on your head. You know what? I think you need some VR time separated. Add another 2 doses of, I don't know, muscle fiber into your diet. We're going to give you 3 doses of hypercal. Please take these once a day. You really need it. I don't know. A portmanteau of vital operations. I like that. I'm really feeling this. Yeah, yeah. Drew says, I think NASA took some fish into orbit and it did not went well for the fish. Yeah. Now that's going to be an issue, I think, for damn near every biological system that we have on Earth. Every time we take, like I made the point that various types of insects, and we would need something other than meat for our protein, and we need enrichment. So just having things that squirt out of a bottle that have all of our nutrients in it is fine, but we need enrichment. We need to eat foods of a certain type, of different types, to keep our teeth well, and psychologically we love meals that have different textures and flavors and things. And I was like, oh well, we probably have insects in space. Like everything from cockroaches to maggots and grubs and things like that that we would eat in space. I think while we would take insects, birds, fish, grow these things in space, I think there's going to initially, yeah, going to be a lot of dead animals, unfortunately. But at a certain point, if post-human, when we have genetic modification, I think like, okay, there may be a whole interstellar economy based on bringing in new things into sealed habitats, new types of fruits, veggies, animals, uh, new vital. I'm going to call it vitality. New vitality functionalities. Okay, let's say you have a habitat, and what everybody does is they strap themselves down and they use treadmills. But a starship comes by, and what they do is they buy, trade, and sell things. And when they come by, they go, "Hey, listen, we've got these things you wear on your shoulders, and it acts like in zero gravity or light gravity, it acts like a very massive weight. You just strap them down, and it acts like a weight, and you can do like standing lifts. It attaches to your arms and makes resistance and things like that." And they might go, "Oh, we could use something like that. You have anything else?" And they go, "Sure. Here we have we have an ancient form of Monopoly with all the pieces involved. We even made the board magnetic so the pieces don't go flying around. I don't know, something like that." But yeah. I'm liking all this. Let's circle back around to time lag. I want to talk about time and distance. So when it comes to time lag, and mind you, this chart actually exists in the Expanse role-playing game. And sorry, Free League, I think it's not Free League, it's Fantasy Flight, Fantasy Flight. Ooh, okay. Found an article on fish in space. Let's see, can I? It'll show up, but I can't. It's not letting me do it. Okay. Here we go. Let's do fish. I got a Smithsonian. The first thing that pops up for me is a Smithsonian article about fish don't do well in space. Life in space is hard on the human body. The lack of damn pop-ups. The lack of gravity's pull can quickly take its toll on bone density decline. Quickly take its toll. Bone density declines, muscles deteriorate, and more. But compared to fish, humans have it pretty easy. Wow. For several years, scientists working with the Japanese Space Agency, or JAXA, JAXA, I like that acronym, studied the effects of life aboard the International Space Station for a small school of Medaka fish, also known as Japanese rice fish. Medaka are small freshwater fish native to Japan, and they are invaluable for space research. It turns out that the effects of microgravity on Medaka aren't much different than our own. The effects just set in much faster. Wow, that's different. I wonder if it's because of like oxygenation, maybe, or something like that. Because the fish reacted so quickly to their new living situation, the researchers were able to observe the effects of microgravity on the bodies almost in real time. Almost immediately, numbers of both types of cells increased noticeably when compared to an earthbound control group with certain genes going into action in ways not seen in normal gravity. While these findings are limited to this batch of lab-grown fish, it could eventually shed new light on the processes that govern how human bodies adapt to space, as well as to typical human diseases like osteoporosis. Wow. Okay. Cool. I'm liking it. Fish will evolve into the ultimate space monster. It's only a question of how long it will take. Yeah. Now, of course, we're talking tabletop role-playing games. We got to have some like weirdly, like oddly mutated things that have gone, out of control or something. Definitely like piranhas and, zero gravity swimming electric eels and krakens and void sharks or whatever. We've got to have something like that. But it would be pretty amazing. Now, the horror genre of media, I think, is where we can find our identities when it comes to problems in space. So, what I like to do is whenever one of my defaults when thinking of issues is I don't like to think in a void. I like to imagine, well, what is most similar to this situation, and then apply some of those rules from these other situations. It's and I think of horror as for space travel, the horror genre. And what I mean by that is in the horror genre, there's a bunch of staples when you see a horror movie or there's a horror novel, slasher flicks and all those kind of things, psychological horror. And one of the things, not one, but many of the things is isolation. Nearly every horror genre has our main characters isolated. And it's fearful to be isolated, to know that there's both danger and very few places for you to run. 30 Days of Night is an isolation. Hey, they're up in the Arctic. It's going to be 30 days where the sun doesn't rise and there's no way for you to escape. They even introduced in the movie 30 Days of Night that someone took all the cell phones and they destroyed the cell tower and melted, a ton of cell phones. Roads are impassable. In space, they'll say, in science fiction, they'll say, hey, you won't get a shipment for another 8 months. You're in a space habitat. No matter how big the space habitat is, it has bounded regions. You can only go so far until you have to go out into space in a spacesuit, which even that is claustrophobic. So, time, the ability to communicate with other people outside of where you are isolated from, is also a horror type of thing. Hey, we need help. Take our modern day. Hey, I'm going to flag down someone on the road, a police officer or something, and there's no one around because you're isolated. In space, it's like, hey, we need help. Let's send out a random message, a emergency beacon, and hope some random person finds it, that some random agency is going to turn around and space towards us at their fastest. And even if they get there fast, it's going to be 5 weeks. Very horror genre. Animals in space, the invertebrates would rule the roost. I agree with you on that one. Yeah, maybe a lot of those microscopic, like one-celled organisms might, some 6-foot protozoa might be like, yeah, we're taking over now. Yeah. Drew says horror also have often the element that one is not even safe at home. And well, a space habitat is prone to become a disaster if something goes wrong. That alone is quite a horror. Yes. Can you imagine? Let us imagine that we are living in a dome, a real life physical knock on the side of the clear plastic, or, it would probably be transparent aluminum or aerogel or whatever, but it doesn't matter. But Drew brings up an excellent point, that we are going about our day and we trust that all the people and the mechanisms around us operate at least not dangerously, right? We do think when we walk, drive, eat, sleep, we hope that the things around us are operating pretty reasonably. We understand there's car accidents. We understand that we have airlines and airline safety is important. We understand that computers, we have virus protection and things, but we want things to operate well. Can you imagine, like, you're wearing a badge or you get an alarm and something goes off and they go, hey, something's pierced the dome and we're losing oxygen, or someone sabotaged the air filters and we're being flooded with carbon dioxide or monoxide or ethane or something, and you're just like, fuck, the very air I'm breathing, I can't trust. Damn it. Right? I mean, yeah. And horror oftentimes, let me bring up the heroine's labyrinth here. Sometimes there is the the confrontation at home and the horror of having something dangerous in your home where you live, where you feel like you're safest, and having something. That's why so many horror movies or slasher flicks take place in someone's private home. Like, it's not just they went on a trip or something like that, but many times the fearfulness is you look around your house and it's like, are there shadows? Who's there? And they always see like silhouettes and people moving around. And it's a pretty horrible feeling that someone, you know, violates your space. And your home is a starship. Your home is a dome city. Your home is a hollowed out mountain or something. Your home is a domed over crater, and you probably know every bit and piece of that dome city like the back of your hand because you've lived there for 7 years. And here comes some micrometeors, and they punch a hole through the hab membrane, and you're like, shit, we got to go fix that now. Unstoppable amoeba takes over your ship, and you can't even shoot it. Would electricity even help? Yeah, I don't know. Now, I have talked about technology where you really don't want to have like laser blasts and firearms like slug throwers shooting inside of like space habitats and starships. But I think we would have some weaponry, and I'll talk about those. I'll talk about those in a minute. Shai says, we in Germany don't trust that. Paragraph 1 of the road driving code. Misconduct of other drivers is to be expected at all times. Yeah, we've got major cities that are like that here, especially in Atlanta, Chicago, Los Angeles. Like, we've got major cities that are horrible like that. Home as battleground. Like Doug Burton calls it in the heroine's labyrinth. Yep. Home is battleground. And let me. Can I? Okay. Okay. I have to share something. Sorry. Doug got back with me, and I really, really appreciate what he did. So he sent me an email. And where are you, Doug? Okay, so Douglas A. Burton is on an email thread with me, and I wanted to read the results of an email. So here we go. This is a little breaking my arm to pat myself on the back, but I'm really appreciative of this. So he says, hi, DBJ, this is Doug, the Heroine's Labyrinth guy. Just checking in to say hi, and also thank you again. I saw your recent stream where you covered both the journey and the labyrinth. Thought it was great. I also wanted to check with you real quick on a housekeeping issue. He says, your name will appear in the Heroine's Labyrinth acknowledgments. I'm genuinely grateful for your instant adoption and application of the concepts, plus letting me come onto the show to talk with you about it in depth. I just want to make sure I have the spelling and everything correct. So, and he talks about how it would look in the book. And then he says, the book will be available for pre-sales February 27th and will officially launch March 26th. You've been incredible, and keep up all the good work you do for storytelling and RPGs. So I contacted him back, and I said, wow, thanks. Told him how I want the name, put DBJ in parentheses behind it, whatever. I says, I love wandering down the labyrinth of your framework. And that's given me I love wandering down the labyrinth of your framework, and it has given the creative community mind fuel. You know how I always like to do that mind fuel thing. Thanks again for reaching out and bothering to acknowledge me for a minuscule interaction I've had with your writing journey. High fives. And then this is the last part. So he contacts me back. So I was like, what? He says, what's up, DBJ? High five right back. Hey, what may seem like a minuscule interaction to you was a big deal to me. We talked for 4+ hours live, and what made your live stream so unique was that you had such an intuitive grasp of the concepts. You could instantly apply one idea or another to an RPG scenario as if you'd been working off this roadmap for years. Laugh out loud. So the conversation felt more advanced than me just outlining each archetypical design on my own. Talking with you really allowed both of us to move beyond just a basic definition and into the realm of creative imagination, that spontaneous improv that only RPGs can generate. So anyway, the thanks is sincere, and I'm sure we'll cross paths again in the near future here, Doug. So that's I'm flabbergasted. This person, uh, um, strange times we live in. Kind of cool there, Drew. So yeah, I know you guys are just like, what? Who? That that email thread is from the writer of the book coming out known as The Heroine's Labyrinth, which is a different storytelling format or framework than The Hero's Journey, which has or The Hero with a Thousand Faces. The Hero's Journey has dominated everything. But The Heroine's Labyrinth, I think, is going to be up there soon. That's it. Okay. Horror flicks, talking about um, uh, home as battleground, also means that basically nearly everywhere our protagonists, our heroes, our stars go, they're going to be confined somewhere. Now, that confinement might be a habitat that serves 800,000 people, which might be pretty damn huge. But even that habitat could be threatened by things from the outside and internally, just through saboteurs doing something, whether it's the player characters themselves or some kind of enemy or something done by accident or whatever. But I think adding on to that, the fact that time dilation, not time dilation, but the fact that if you want to send a signal out, you don't know when that signal will come back to you with a response and how long that will be. For example, they even just the movie The Martian was they had to take into time lag. Now, mind you, it's a movie, so at a certain point they moved past it. But literally, here's a character by himself on Mars. He's got to spell out things, send it over, knowing it's going to take 8 minutes or 10 minutes to get back, which is 10 minutes to get there, another 10 minutes back. So then there's the time lag. So it's 20 minutes per letter to spell out a word. And of course, we had to fast forward past that. But time lag, I think, is an issue. Also, orbital pathways. So if I were to bring up an image of here, let's do this. Let's bring up. Let's see. Solar system orbits, and let's get some images. And many times when we see these type of images, just because of the way it is, just because of the layout, and to show you visually what these things look like, a lot of times what happens is the artist or displayer will line up all the planets, right? So like just to my left on the right side of this thing, you say solar system orbits, right? And Encyclopedia Britannica. And what do we see? We see there's Mercury, and then we've got Venus, and then Earth, and then we've got probably Mars, and then Jupiter and Saturn. They put a ring around it. I think that's Neptune, and then Uranus or whatever. But you see the planets are all lined up with this giant sun, our sun, right? Well, what happens if you spin the orbit? What's going to happen is all these planets are going to be in different positions. So instead of it being lined up like that, maybe at a certain point, the player characters are, here we go. Maybe it's going to look more like this, where there are planets that are in elliptical orbits. They are in different positions. You might be Neptune on this far side, but you want to get to Pluto, which is way on the other side of the solar system, right? Uranus is right down here. No, I'm not. I refuse to pronounce it the dirty way. But your anus might be, okay, maybe I broke that. Your anus might be right here, but you're trying to get to Mars, which is on the other side of the sun, and those kind of things. And that might be, that in and of itself may become the issue that we have when it comes to like the orbital like here's the thing about the orbital plane of the pathway of these different types of things. I'll go back to this image here. Where is this? Makamake, Eris, I'm going to say it's pronounced Huamea, Haumea, Haumae. It could also be pronounced, but I'm going to go with Huamea. But anyway, these are other orbital bodies that are like planetoids or very, very large asteroids. Like they even have Ceres down here, and even that is an issue that the player characters may have to keep up with. And I like the idea that the players might be somewhere and they're just like, we're just going to take a starship and go to this other planet, and the game master's like, you do realize it's the furthest point away from you. You're literally going to pass by 5 others, I don't know, interplanetary bodies before you even get to where you need to go. And it's like, ooh, I didn't think about that. Named by the namer, hey, what's up? Says, I've been so busy. It's so good to finally get me some DBJ in my life. Take the injections as you need them. I find the idea that most spaceship corridors are very claustrophobic, but at the same time, the vastness of space is right outside. Yeah, I personally, I think that would affect me too much to know that I'm in this enclosed, claustrophobic can, maybe. But the vastness of space. But even if you're in a space hab that can hold 800,000 souls, the vastness of space is still larger than you. It's still by very many factors, exponential factors bigger than yourself. So yeah, just keep it Latin and call it Neptune. Yeah. Not only Drew says, not only the positions are a problem, the distances are also wrong on the pictures. Well, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, they are to say, yeah. It's not just yes. I get it. Like the way you have to artistically figure out where these are at, because if I'm not mistaken, the orbits as the orbits get out further from the sun, they are also factors of distance away from each other. So like Mars, Earth to Mars is a factor, is a distance that is like, I'm just going to say almost a doubling effect, where Earth to Mars is twice as long from Mars to Jupiter, which is twice as long from Jupiter to Saturn, which is twice as long from Saturn to Neptune. Like it's that kind of thing where it's keep going, like it's further, and then to get to the next one is twice as far. Now that's not actually mathematically correct, but that's an issue, right? Because it doesn't look like this image where all the planets are lined up. It's just an artist's rendition. But yeah. So let's see, is this orbital path of planets? Planet 9. I'm trying to find one that's got like the no, because all these are lined up as well. But to make that a point in the story, it could be that, hey, we're running a simple adventure. We just want our characters to get from Mars to a moon orbiting Jupiter, and we're just going to go from one to the other, direct path, not too much time. We want to get to the front door of the adventure. We're not going to bother about these other things. You go, okay, that's not a big deal. Whatever. Let's go ahead and let's do that. But on the other hand, if you want to make that a feature, hey, you need to get to Jupiter, but guess what? While you're there, to get back home to Mars, it's going to orbit out beyond your easy to get to navigation. You're going to have to travel past pirates. You're going to have to go through the asteroid belt. There's going to be as Mars begins orbiting around the sun and you're on Jupiter, there might be a communications blackout unless you're able to hack into satellite systems that can bounce signals around the sun to get to where, like, I feel like this can be a feature like a horror movie, right? Where the feature is, oh no, it's easy to get to a place, but then once you're there, it's difficult to leave that place. Um, mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Caligula says the claustrophobia in the vastness of space, a stark reminder that everything is nothing. Yeah, it can feel like existential dread when you are a small speck in a big machine, right? Like it's the shock and awe we have when we go out into the natural habitat of Earth and we see vast mountains and oceans and caverns and we look at the vastness of nature and go, yeah, I'm a tiny speck in the vastness of nature and such. And I imagine that if the moment we get comfortable leaving Earth's atmosphere and we look out into space, even that image of looking out in vast oceans and deserts and mountains and being impressed by it, being overwhelmed by it, would be multiple. Yeah, it would be sublime. Yes, living. Thank you very much. That's a perfect descriptor because you know me, I'm going to fumble. Um, yeah, it would be a sublime experience to look out in the nothingness. Like, wow, it is. Even the planet Earth in our own solar system is very much a speck of dirt, right? That's crazy to think about, and I love it. I love the idea. Like, like I feel like I would be overwhelmed, but also impressed. But there are people who actually feel existential dread just thinking about that idea, right? Just thinking like, man, what would it be like to float in space in a tin can knowing that you could drift off for a millennium and not impact anything or fall back into a planetary system and burn up in the atmosphere or something? But yeah, Caligula says when you look outside your window and realize that what's out there is everything there is there is in all of existence. That's true. That's very true. I mean, literally you can make a straight line and then that straight line goes through a billion suns. Like if you look, I'm just it's not necessarily true, but it's like if you could travel in a straight line from Earth, like how many hundreds, thousands, millions, billions of star systems would you go through? How many planets and stars and moons and suns and nebulas would you encounter if you just kept going on and on and on and on? And you realize like and the cool thing is like we're made up of star stuff. I always think that's cool. Like we're literally made up of star stuff. All right. So um anyway, I wanted this to be just a very generalized talk, but I did want to talk about like space travel and us going into space. That's hard. And I want to embrace the things that science fiction glosses over due to storytelling, right? I want to embrace muscle atrophy and brittle bone osteoporosis. I want to embrace space scurvy, the scurvies. I mean, it might just literally just be called scurv. Sorry. Yeah, we could call it just call it scurv or something like that. I mean, I could see something where it's like and now I don't know how draconian the government would be, but every space habitat may like could you imagine going to space habitat and they give you something to wear on your wrist and like, oh no, it's a biomonitor. And you're like, I don't want to be monitored everywhere I go. And they go, no, 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 no. The biomonitor is going to check your bone density and your neurological pathways. And if you have any issues, we'll come to you just to make sure because we don't want you to be a danger to the rest of us. And if you're not sleeping well or your health is out or like, maybe you're carrying around some bacterium in your lungs, we want to know about that. And the PCs are like, damn, they're going to track everything we do. This is a shadow ops, right? Yeah. Drew says there's also the chance that you go in a straight line and never hit anything. You are so correct. There's actually a greater chance that you'll never hit anything, but you'll bypass a lot of amazing stuff though on the way. Wouldn't you? Be sweet. Just to go like the galactic core, and it's like, did I just pass by 6 black holes? That's weird. Yeah, the shitlord says, what about tiny particles that have been flying through space over millions of years at insane speeds, and you're just hoping they won't ever run into anything important. Yep. Yep. Micrometeor, not even meteors, just particles. You know, even now the astronauts understand that there is a very minor but possibility of just being impacted by space debris. And that's just a fact of space. It's not, I don't want to say it's weird. It is, I suppose it's much like us thinking about car wrecks and airplanes falling out the sky. Like, we know it could happen, but what are the chances of it happening? And we still live our lives. But yeah, and randomly in space, just a particle could just pop right through your body, and you're like, why am I bleeding? Oh wow, it just punched through me and the outer hull of our tin can starship or something. Wow. Yeah. Shai says, how can we get real hardcore scientists and turn them on to this game? Yeah. I want to, and listen, now I will say that I don't want this to bog the game down. What I like to do is have this be part of the culture of living in space. Like, have that be a real thing. And like I said, maybe space taverns aren't as, we're going to have space taverns, right? We're going to have people drinking and partying. Drugs and VR systems and addiction. We're going to have all that. But imagine how do I explain this? The socialization of needing to take care of yourself mentally and physically in space, and then making that a social hub. Maybe the bad guy goes to the very social hub you have to go to, and you're looking at each other and you're like, you and that might be neutral territory. Like, even criminals and the police and everybody go, this Vitops location, Vitops 863 is neutral ground from the police to criminals, the religious sector, the corporate entities, the blue collar workers. They all go there, and everyone knows this is Elysium, from taking that from Vampire to Masquerade, right? This is Elysium. Nothing happens here, because if something goes down here, you might be causing the deaths of everybody, and that might mean that you are public enemy number one if you do anything to affect this place. So yeah. Drew says, nitpicking is my specialty. You don't need scientists to get that. Yeah, taste and prevent them from nitpicking every detail. Well, see, here's the thing. Yeah, Caligula says, the perfect mix of real science and rules light. Therein lies the challenge. I think, and you bring up a good point about the challenge, because rules heavy, it's easy to go down a rabbit hole of trying to make a ruling and rule for every single situation, whereas rules light says, the design matrix says, we have an engine, a mechanism, whatever, like rolling a d20, rolling percentile dice, rolling 2d6, rolling a dice pool, whatever the case might be. We have a mechanism, and that we're going to apply that mechanism to as many one-off situations as we could possibly make, right? So a d20 plus modifier is an engine in a role-playing game that we can apply to, instead of detailing every situation, we just say, guess what? When a situation comes up and we don't know what the outcome is, we're going to use that mechanism. So I think in rules, like, I think we can cover the nitpicks with a strong enough machine behind it, a strong enough engine. Yeah, rules heavy is failure, elegance is simplicity. Yep. Yeah, there's a bit of a cut away the fat in a rules light, rules simplicity type of elegance. There's a bit of that, especially when you find an elegance and go, why did I think of that? Why didn't I come up with that? Powered by the Apocalypse is very much like that. Blades in the Dark is like that. Although Blades in the Dark it's a little bit, there's some detail in that game, more than we think it is. But yeah, that game is Morkborg is another one. Does that? We need to find people who can appreciate the realism aspect without tearing it apart. because they know more hard science than anybody else can. Well, I will admit, like, I listen to some hard sci-fi people who are detail oriented, and and sometimes it can be a little bit disheartening when when you have a professional go, well, that's stupid. Like, we how many YouTube channels are dedicated to the I'm a professional fill in the blank, like firearms expert, swordsman, jujitsu expert, astrologist, I mean astronomy, astrology, and they rip apart your favorite sci-fi, right? But many of them that fall positive go, oh, I'm a fan of this thing, but here's what is unrealistic about the thing, right? There's a young lady that did a really good, I don't know, it was maybe 30-minute, 40-minute breakdown of The Expanse, and she's a astrophysicist. At her channel, I'll have to look it up, but anyway, yeah, Drew says, indeed, in design, there is the saying of one is not finished when one cannot add anything, but when one cannot remove anything more. Uh, that is absolute. It's very much a big giant circle. You start with a simple premise, it grows larger and larger, and then you start whittling away at it, whittling away. You don't need this, don't need this, don't need this, and then eventually, a good script will do that. Where what's a one of the best scripts in movie history. I mean, there's hundreds of them, but one of them is a movie called um, Sicario. It's a bloody movie about an assassin, Sicario, and drug dealing and stuff. And most of the dialogue was removed from the main character, played by Benicio del Toro. But the first half of the movie starts out thinking that there's another character that's the main character, but it's not about her, it's about him. Drew says, I'm a professional internet complainer. You're funny. There are going to be artists who won't be satisfied even with 99% realism. Oh, or do you actually mean autists? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, yes, there will be. Yep. I am here to troll the complainers. Yeah, this shit lords. Yeah, it's been a little while since you punched me in the gut there, Shits and Drew. So yeah, you guys need to step up the game and start ripping me a little bit more. But no, but in all seriousness, yeah, there will be people who will be dissatisfied with, like, what about delta V, what about gravity insertion, and you can't just make gravity, standard gravity and light gravity and zero gravity. You have to have 38.6% gravity, and gravity is different on the equator than it is on the poles of Mars and all. Yeah, you could go down that rabbit hole, but here's the thing. I thought you'd okay. Yeah, yeah. I thought you did. I was like, was that a spell check thing? Yeah, Taste is like, no, I said autist, uber mega nerds, know it alls. Yep. Yeah. Well, actually, push the glasses up. Well, actually, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm with you with the comment there, because I was afraid to put it up there. But yeah, 99% realism. I mean, it's like the people who are just like role playing games don't have real combat because it depends on what hand you're using and what weapon, and that weapon didn't exist during this time period, and blah blah blah. And you're just like, dude, there's dragons in this game. The realism went out the window once you said there were dragons. Yeah, they can't all be cool like the guy from Shy Squad. Yeah. You're going to take us out on that. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show on this here Friday. I really appreciate it. I will try to produce more things for you guys to disseminate and criticize. I'm actually thinking of, I'm hesitating because I'm afraid, but I'm thinking about doing some design live on stream while we talk. Like, I could very easily, like, one of the things I'd like to do is just do like I can get into like any of the files here. Let me pull up something random. You know what? Yeah, I'll pull this up. So like I was thinking about doing something live. Like maybe I'll just pull up a file, get into the file, start to manipulate things while I'm talking, like I'm doing right now. Like for example, I want to take this. Matter of fact, I'll start it right now. So, oh shit, no. I want to destroy this. I want to make a copy. So I want to make this character sheet into a starship character sheet. So right now I've just like made a copy of it. and- or did the copy make, okay, there it is. So there's two versions of this. So there's a copy right here, and then I'm thinking about doing this live where we go into the character sheet and then go this, well, how do we make a starship? And before, I remember when I did this, I used a vector, arc, and axis. I think it's axis as like the main attributes of the starship, and then change the approaches. Maybe the approaches are similar to what this would be for a player character, but we turn that into a starship. Like focused might be targeting. Subtle might be stealth. Swift may be acceleration or thrust. Wild might be just random or chaos or something or whatever. Like, and then go in and start changing these around. Like, do we want to have strive for a starship? Maybe not strive. Maybe it's some kind of luck or something. And then we go in and start changing all of these things and use the same mechanism, right? The same rules, but the players get to make their starship character sheet. So whatever. Anyway, that's the idea, of doing something live on air, and that, I think that'd be kind of cool. And then getting your input. Uh, yeah, but dude, we need to find a target audience outside of the usual fantasy sci-fi people. I definitely agree with you. Maybe what I'll do, we need to find some like social media groups and kind of get some of their like sci-fi media groups, not science fiction, science groups. Damn it, science groups that are maybe in like tangentially into science. Maybe get some of those Isaac Arthur people. And yeah, Drew says, "F it, we're doing it live." Okay, all right, then that's what we're gonna do. So all next week we're gonna do some design mechanisms, and we'll do things live, like hell, like come on, slide down. Like some of this other stuff here, like this kind of stuff as well. The Mork Borgian design element kind of thing, where we get like where we start designing these like one page systems, and breaking the system down, where we get these like one pagers of locations, or because this is mainly the fluff, right? This is the background. I don't want to use this for rules so much, but yeah, we can start doing that kind of thing. Like this is the planet Venus. Strangely enough, it's going to put some background on that. This is Earth or Terra, and put some stuff on that. We can start modifying these, filling these in as well. I haven't done that. Maybe making these even more unique to each one, changing the colors, the patterns. I'm very knowledgeable about this, so I could very easily change it to what anybody wants. So yeah. Start going through that. Yeah, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Facebook is for boomers. Of course it is. Yeah. Talk to Ian Crossland. He's on YouTube and Twitter. He'd be interested. Ian Crossland. Does anybody know a good space science group on Facebook? I don't know. Ian Crossland. Where is Thomas Anderson when you need him? He seems to know about this kind of thing. Yeah, he's a big science person that happens to come by. Facebook is for boomers, and boomers believe the moon landing was real. Stop. I'm not a boomer. I'm technically past that age, but yeah, I'm a 70s kid. I was born in 70s, so technically I'm an 80s kid, 80s to 90s ish. Yeah. Oh God, you guys are so funny. Ian Crossland. I'm gonna look that up. Look that up right now. All right, guys. So we're going to do some live design. I'll fill the text with lorem lorem ipsum. For those who don't know, um, am I Gen X? I guess I am. I'm 54 or 53 now. I'll be 54 at the end of the year. But basically, that's where I'm at. So, um, for those who don't know, lorem ipsum is nonsense words. You can just type it in and find a big block of nonsense words. Throw in lorem ipsum to find out the size, shape, and font you want to use, and word count for layout. And it comes across a little bit Latin. I don't know who actually came up with the exact words that are in the lorem ipsum nonsensical wording, but it is a real thing. Matter of fact, let's take us out with some lorem ipsum. Let's see, share this instead. Let's get some images here. Lorem ipsum. And it's just, I mean, there's lorem ipsum generators. This is just, it's what newspapers and magazines and blog places throw into that's nonsense, so you can get an idea what it might look like. And then you start removing it to get where you want. So, yep. It's pretty cool. Lorem ipsum generator. In publishing and graphic design, lorem ipsum is a placeholder text commonly used to demonstrate the visual form of a document or a typeface without relying on meaningful content. Lorem ipsum may be used as a placeholder before the final copy is available. Kind of cool. Thank you very much for that. Yep, you are the real side of Gen X, and I'm the side that's perilously close to millennial. I guess I am Gen X. Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. I never really considered myself to be what I am, but I think we all feel like we've grown up in the greatest generation possible. I do have to say there were a lot of things that came about in the 70s and 80s that I'm pretty proud of, like the weird shift through music and entertainment and stuff. A lot of firsts. Yeah. Caligula says, excellent show. This will be good to share out with people. Really? Thank you. Hey, if you're new and you got here, please like, share, subscribe, share, give a thumbs up, share it out, let people know what the hell's going on over here, join the conversation, that kind of thing. So hells yes. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. There, let's get rid of this. Have a great weekend, and thank you very much. Let's take us out here with some dramatic music and some Obsidian Star panels. See you. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys Monday for a live design journal. Peace and tranquility.